Welcome back to the Quantum Chain Podcast, the show where we try to figure out all this blockchain stuff. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into Ethereum. We've got some sources lined up like Wikipedia, Ethereum's own website, and an analysis from eToro.
Sounds like a solid lineup. Ethereum is often compared to Bitcoin, right? But it's way more than just a digital currency. Think of it more like a platform, even a world computer, It's this decentralized network where anyone can build and run applications.
Okay, so not just buying and selling crypto. Got it. What kind of applications, though? Like, how are they different from the apps on our phones?
Well, think about it. Right now, we depend on big companies for all our apps and services. But with Ethereum, you can have applications that aren't controlled by any one entity. That opens up a ton of possibilities. Decentralized finance, managing supply chains, even proving your identity online without needing Facebook or Google.
Whoa, decentralized finance, cutting out the middleman, no banks, no big tech. Is that actually possible?
Oh, it's already happening. One of the most exciting areas is DeFi. You can lend, borrow, trade cryptocurrencies, all without needing a traditional financial institution.
Wow, and this is all built on that blockchain thing, right? But I've heard that Ethereum's blockchain is different than Bitcoin's. Is that right?
You heard correctly. They both use blockchain technology. But Ethereum's blockchain is built to be much more versatile. One of its key innovations is this idea of smart contracts.
Okay, smart contracts. I've heard the term, but I'm still not quite sure what they actually are. Can you explain that?
Imagine a vending machine, but instead of dispensing snacks, it can handle super complex financial agreements. And they execute automatically when certain conditions are met. That's a smart contract in a nutshell.
So like a self-executing contract, but it's written in code.
Exactly. And because these contracts are on the blockchain, they're totally transparent, nobody can mess with them, and you don't need a third party to enforce them.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. All those industries we talked about before, finance, supply chains, even things like voting, could all be revolutionized by this.
Absolutely. Smart contracts have the potential to automate and streamline tons of processes, making them more efficient, transparent, and secure.
But that's got to take some serious computing power, right? How does Ethereum actually handle all these transactions and smart contracts?
That's where Ether comes in. Ether, or ETH, is Ethereum's own cryptocurrency. Think of it as the fuel that powers the whole network.
Like gas for a car, basically.
Exactly. Users pay gas fees in Ether to execute smart contracts and make transactions on the Ethereum blockchain. It's how miners get rewarded for validating and securing the network. We can talk more about the mechanics of gas fees later if you'd like.
You know what? Actually, something else is on my mind. We keep hearing about all these new cryptocurrencies popping up. Are they all built on their own separate blockchains?
Not necessarily. That's one of the things that makes Ethereum so powerful. There's the ERC20 token standard.
ERC20. Yeah, that sounds familiar. It's got something to do with creating new tokens on Ethereum, right?
Right on. It's basically a set of rules that defines how tokens should work on the Ethereum blockchain. It's like a blueprint that makes it super easy for developers to create and launch their own tokens.
And that's led to, what, thousands of new tokens out there. It's kind of mind-blowing.
The ERC20 standard has been super influential for sure. It's what fueled the boom of initial coin offerings, or ICOs. It's allowed for stablecoins to exist, and it's paved the way for all sorts of decentralized applications.
So if I'm getting this right, Ethereum is like the foundation, and these ERC20 tokens are like building blocks for all these new applications and projects.
You got it. Ethereum provides the infrastructure, and the ERC20 standard gives developers the tools to build on top of it. It's a crazy powerful combo.
We've covered a lot of ground already. But before we dive too deep into the technical details, I think it's good to step back and look at the bigger picture. Ethereum is this global phenomenon now, but where did it all start?
The Ethereum story begins with Vitalik Buterin, a young programmer who had this vision of a blockchain platform that could do way more than just cryptocurrency.
So he's kind of like the Satoshi Nakamoto of Ethereum then.
Yeah, you could say that. Buterin wrote a white paper back in 2013 that outlined his vision for Ethereum. Then, a year later, he launched a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for development.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap now, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon.
It's been an amazing journey, but it hasn't been all smooth sailing. We can talk about some of those challenges, like the infamous DAO hack, after a quick musical interlude.
And now, a musical break from our team. This piece was inspired by decentralized networks, so let it set the mood as we get ready to jump back into the world of Ethereum.
Sea wind and golden sand on an island far, far away. Midas touch, I'm the magic man. Follow me and let's get out of this place. We could fly over our problems, watching clouds from a private jet. But you don't have to worry about the rain when only champagne gets you wet. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. 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 Oh yeah. I wanna put some diamonds in your ears and tell you everything you want to hear. And throw this money in the atmosphere. Can you feel me now? Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch. Everywhere I go, everything is gold. Everybody know I got the Midas touch.
All right, we're back on the Quantum Chain podcast. Before the music, we were talking about Ethereum's early days and some of the bumps in the road, like the DAO hack, right? That was a big one.
Yeah, the DAO hack was a major turning point for Ethereum. It showed how smart contracts could be vulnerable, and it sparked this huge debate about how to deal with these kinds of situations in a decentralized system.
Yeah, I remember that. It was all over the news. For those who don't know the story, can you give us a quick recap of what went down?
So the DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, was this really ambitious project built on Ethereum. It was like a venture capital fund, but run entirely by code. Investors could pool their Ether together and vote on which projects to fund.
Sounds pretty revolutionary. But something obviously went wrong.
Right. Someone found a weakness in the DAO's smart contract, and a hacker exploited it. They ended up draining millions of dollars worth of Ether. It was a huge crisis for the Ethereum community.
So what happened next? Did they just let the hacker walk away with it?
That's where things get really interesting. The Ethereum community was split on how to respond. Some people said they should stick to the principle of decentralization, even if it meant accepting the hack. Others thought they had to intervene and fix the situation.
Tough call. What a dilemma. So what ended up happening?
In the end, they decided to do a hard fork. Basically, they created a new version of the Ethereum blockchain where the hack never happened.
Hard fork? That sounds pretty drastic.
It is. And it caused a split in the Ethereum community. Some people didn't agree with the hard fork, and they stayed on the original blockchain. That's what became known as Ethereum Classic.
So now we have two different Ethereums.
Exactly. The hard fork created a lot of controversy, no doubt. But it also proved that the Ethereum community was willing to take action and protect its users.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these kinds of events can really shape a technology. It's not just about the code, it's about the people behind it and the decisions they make.
Totally agree. And the DAO hack actually led to some big improvements in Ethereum's security and governance.
Speaking of governance, how does Ethereum actually work in that sense? It's decentralized, right? So there's no CEO making all the calls.
Correct. It's a complicated process, and it's always evolving. You've got core developers, community members, stakeholders. They all participate in discussions, propose changes, and basically influence where the platform is headed.
Sounds like it could get messy sometimes. How do they ever agree on anything?
It can be tough, that's for sure. But that's also one of Ethereum's strengths. It's this ever-changing ecosystem driven by the collective intelligence and contributions of its community.
And this community is constantly pushing the limits of what's possible with Ethereum, right? We're seeing new apps and innovations all the time.
Right. One of the most exciting areas is Layer 2 scaling solutions.
Layer 2 scaling. Sounds pretty techy. Can you break that down for us regular folks?
Well, as Ethereum's gotten more popular, the network has run into some scaling problems. Transactions can take a while and get expensive, especially when things are busy. Layer 2 solutions are designed to fix that by taking some of the work off the main Ethereum blockchain.
So it's kind of like adding an express lane for transactions.
Good analogy. Layer 2 solutions are like side roads that can handle a bunch of transactions quickly and cheaply, and then those transactions are settled on the main Ethereum blockchain every so often.
That seems like a huge step for Ethereum. Is this stuff actually being used yet?
Oh yeah, there are already several Layer 2 solutions out there like Optimism and Arbitrum. They're being used to power decentralized exchanges, NFT marketplaces, all kinds of things.
So Ethereum is constantly evolving and adapting to the challenges of this fast-growing ecosystem.
That's what makes it so cool. It's this living, breathing technology that's shaped by the people who use it.
But let's not forget about the everyday person who's just learning about Ethereum. What are some of the real-world applications that could impact their lives?
Excellent point. The technology itself can seem complicated, but Ethereum has the potential to benefit everyone. Imagine having more control over your personal data, for example.
Instead of handing it over to big tech companies, we can own and manage our own data.
Mm.
Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. Ethereum makes it possible to create self-sovereign identity systems where you choose what information to share and with whom.
Wow, that's a game changer. And what about the financial side? We talked about DeFi earlier, but how could that impact someone's daily life?
Think about accessing financial services without needing a bank. You could borrow or lend money directly from others, join crowdfunding campaigns, even invest in fractional ownership of real estate, all through decentralized platforms.
It sounds like Ethereum could really give people more financial freedom and equal opportunities.
It definitely has that potential. But we have to remember this tech is still in its early stages. There are risks and challenges to consider.
Like what, for example?
Security is a big one. The blockchain itself is very secure, but smart contracts can have bugs or vulnerabilities that hackers can exploit.
Like we saw with the DAO hack.
Exactly. As more and more value comes into the Ethereum ecosystem, the risks become greater. We need to make sure these systems are strong and can withstand attacks.
What about the environmental impact? I've heard that cryptocurrencies can use a lot of energy.
That's a valid concern. Ethereum has traditionally used a proof-of-work consensus mechanism, which requires a lot of energy to secure the network.
Like Bitcoin.
Right. But Ethereum recently switched to a proof-of-stake system, which is way more energy efficient.
That's good news for sustainability. But there are still a lot of unknowns with this tech, right? We're still figuring out how to change things.
Absolutely. We're the Ethereum journey.
A journey for peace. We'll be back after to explore some of those possibilities with some thoughts on what the future might hold. Welcome to the podcast. It's time to wrap up our Ethereum deep dive, and I'm excited to explore those possibilities we touched on earlier.
The future of Ethereum is, well, there's a ton of potential, but predicting it for sure, that's pretty much impossible.
Of course. But that doesn't mean we can't have some fun thinking about it, right? What are some of the bolder predictions you've come across?
Well, some people think Ethereum could become like the backbone of a truly decentralized internet. They call it Web 3.0. Users control their own data, they interact directly without any middlemen.
Wow, a world without big tech controlling everything. That's an amazing idea. But is it really possible?
It's definitely a huge goal, and there are some major hurdles to overcome, but the tech is evolving so fast, and the community is super passionate about making it happen.
I'm curious about other industries, not just finance and tech. Could Ethereum change things in healthcare or education, for example?
Absolutely. Imagine secure systems for managing medical records or verifying educational credentials. And that's just the start. Streamlining supply chains, improving voting, even helping artists connect directly with their fans and make money in new ways.
It sounds like Ethereum could be a part of everything we do, but I'm also wondering, are there any downsides to this much decentralization?
That's a really important question. Decentralization gives power to individuals, but it also raises issues about accountability and governance, like who's responsible when things go wrong? How do you stop bad actors from taking advantage of decentralized systems? These are tough questions the community is working on.
It sounds like finding that balance is crucial. Encouraging innovation, but also managing the risks.
Exactly. It's a constant process of experimenting and adapting. It takes open discussion and collaboration between developers, researchers, policymakers, everyone.
I'm also thinking about accessibility. How do we make sure everyone benefits from Ethereum's potential, not just people who are already comfortable with technology?
That's a key point. User-friendly interfaces, educational resources, and strong community support are essential. We need to make this technology understandable and usable for everyone.
So the future of Ethereum isn't just about the tech itself, it's about building a vibrant and inclusive community around it.
Couldn't agree more. The human element is essential. Collaboration, shared values, and a shared vision for a fairer, more decentralized future.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Ethereum. Thanks for joining us.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
And to all our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring this amazing technology. Remember, the future of Ethereum is being shaped right now, and your voice matters. Thanks for tuning in to the Quantum Chain Podcast. Until next time, keep on exploring the endless possibilities of the blockchain universe.
No one can take your goal.